Shabbat Shalom. Parashat Matot-Masei. First of all, Baruch Hashem, quick update. I've finished my Miluim, Baruch Hashem, and I'm now currently back with my family for Shabbat, which is lovely. And Baruch Hashem, we have reached the end of Sefer Bamidbar. This is an amazing experience, amazing achievement, Baruch Hashem. Something that we do every year, but something that nonetheless we will celebrate by saying Chazak, Chazak, V'nit Chazek. In Parashat Matot-Masei, there are indeed two parashot. There is Matot, there is Masei. Most years they are together, some years they're separate. This year they are together as well. And a lot of people focus on Matot, and there's a lot to talk about in the different things in Matot, and we won't go into them at the moment. I want to take a second to look at a specific pasuk in the very opening of Parashat Masei. And at the end of Sefer Bamidbar, what we're doing here now really is we are summing up all of the different trajectories, the different tachanot, the different stations, the travels that the Jewish people went throughout the desert. And we're going to mention them by name, and we're going to go through them, and we're going to, in many ways, kind of do a summary, an in memoriam of all of those who fell along the way. We talk about the whole generation that died along the way, and we also recognize each and every different station that we've passed along the way. And I want to take a second to read two psukim. Ele mas'ei bnei Yisrael asher yatzu me'eretz Mitzrayim letziv'otam biyad Moshe ve'Aaron. These are the different stations on the journey that the Jewish people left from Egypt with Moshe and Aaron. And then the most important pasuk in my eyes, Vayichtov Moshe et motzaehem lemasa'ehem al pi Adonai ve'ele masa'ehem lemotzaehem. And Moshe Rabbeinu wrote down motzaehem lemasa'ehem al pi Hashem. Moshe Rabbeinu wrote down every single going in and going out, motzaehem as in motza, yetziah, and lemasa'ehem on the way to the journey, on the journey itself, al pi Adonai. Everything was by the book, by Hashem. And I want to take a second to think about the implications of this statement. The Jewish people is, in many ways, a whole nation of the wandering Jew. We are the wandering Jew already from Mitzrayim, already from Avraham Avinu. We talk about Avraham Avinu, the Arami Oved Avi. My father was a wandering Aramean, whether it's Avraham Avinu, whether it's Yaakov. But we as Jewish people are constantly Oved. We're constantly wandering and moving from place to place. And we have to ask ourselves two questions. First of all, is this on purpose? Is this part of the plan? Is this a feature and not a bug? And second of all, if it is, what is the purpose? And why are we constantly on this journey? So first, one could always answer in a maybe kind of cheekily rabbinic way of answering a question with a question of what's wrong with wandering? On the contrary, wandering, we're all on a journey. We all talk about individuals being on a journey. We're constantly searching for ourselves and discovering ourselves. And yes, to a certain degree, each individual life is constantly full of change. We constantly move around. We get married. We have families. We have grandchildren, Be'ezrat Hashem. We move from place to place. We have different influences and are influenced by different people. Yes, that's part of life. But what does that mean for a nation? If you think about it, most nations kind of stay where they were, and basically maybe borders change a bit here and there. Maybe peoples move around a bit, but more or less the people of Scotland have lived in Scotland for thousands of years, and the people of Pakistan, okay, maybe Pakistan, people have moved around recently, but think about it. Most of the people in the area, they kind of stay within the same thing. The Jews, on the other hand, have literally been scattered from Hawaii to Siberia, literally from across the world, from north to south, from east to west. The Jews are all over the world. We are the wandering Jew, literally across the universe. We've even been to space. What does that mean? What is the purpose of all of these masa'ot? All of these. Masa means journey, means travel, means adventure. Why do we go on these adventures? What is the purpose? So I think there has to be a recognition of two different modes. There's the Jew on wandering mode, maybe more like one of those kind of iRobots, those Roombas that move around, just constantly searching for places to bump into, We moved around throughout the exile, but that's not an ideal situation. And then there's the ideal situation, which is home base, plugged in, which is Eretz Israel. As much as the wandering Jew is a feature of history, it's not necessarily the ideal. And indeed, we left Mitzrayim for a specific place to get to the land of Israel. Eretz Zavat Chalav Udvash. We want to be stationary in the land of Israel. That is the ideal. The fact that we've been wandering for history is often not the ideal. It's the exile, it's the galut, it's the punishment, or it's the repercussions of many different things, but that's not the ideal. That's the first thing. But second of all, and there is an important thing that must be said, and this is put forth by Rav Shimshon Raphael Hirsch, and he says there is also a small feature in that bug of galut, which is that when wandering around the world, the Jew does interact with the rest of the universe. And the wandering Jew, with an A, can also be the wandering Jew, with an O. We wonder, we think, and we cause others to think as well. And I think that's also a major part of the Jewish nation. Today, maybe we say, with the land of Israel being itself a representative of the Jew in the world, we, and of course have been in the news a lot, we have a large influence on the international stage. Maybe at the moment we are a bit of a pariah, but in theory, the Jewish people is able to bring and shine forth. That is the ideal that we're hoping for, that we're striving for. That the Jew can indeed interact with the non-Jews, even in its stationary position as well. So as we wander through the week, and as we recognize that the Jew constantly is wandering from place to place around the world, the different Jewish communities, we're feeling them more and more as we're hearing more from them, unfortunately for anti-Semitic reasons and stuff like that. But nonetheless, when we recognize the Jewish presence being felt more and more around the world, and also the Jewish presence in Israel, constantly being in the news, constantly being on the world stage, I think it's important that we recognize that all of these masa'ot are Al Pi Hashem. These are all part of a divine plan, or at least a divine guidance. And we don't understand the role of the Jews in history to its fullest. We don't. We really don't. And it's something that we're experiencing. I think all the more so these days we open the news and we really feel that we are living history. It's important to recognize that Masei, Parashat Masei, is not over. We're still in that list of different, stations on the journey. We're still very much part of that experience. And I think it's important that we recognize that everything is Al Pi Hashem, as we saw in the Pasuk. That we're constantly writing history, Vayichtov Moshe, and we're constantly trying to find Yad Hashem, trying to find God's role and guidance in this. So Bezrat Hashem, this week will lead to another stage of Jewish history, for good, hopefully, and not for bad. And I wish us all a week of wandering, this time with an O, wondering with our minds, how can we be part of Jewish history? How can we be part of the story of the Jews? Are we one of the wandering Jews around Galut? Are we one of the stationary Jews in the land of Israel? Are we on our own journey in between those two different statuses? And Bezrat Hashem, may we all recognize Al Pi Hashem Yechanu, Al Pi Hashem Yisau. Hashem guides us in everything, and maybe try and figure out what should our next stage be. Shabbat Shalom.